When you watch a UFC fight, you're focused on the fighters, the knockouts, the submissions. But between rounds, there's someone else in the corner doing the work you don't always see. The cutman. 60 seconds, that's all they get. 60 seconds to stop bleeding, reduce swelling, and make sure their fighter can continue. Sometimes they're the difference between winning and losing, between fighting on or getting stopped by the doctor. So today, let's break down the most famous cutman in UFC history, Jacob "Stitch" Duran. You can't start anywhere else. Stitch Duran is the godfather of MMA cutmen. The Stitch Duran signature gear, the calm demeanor even when a fighter's face is falling apart. Stitch has worked thousands of fights across boxing and MMA. He's been in the corner for some of the biggest names in combat sports: Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture, Forrest Griffin, Klitschko, and countless others. What made Stitch special? His precision and his ability to stay calm under pressure. UFC 189. Robbie Lawler versus Rory McDonald. Round 4 ends and Rory's nose is shattered. Blood everywhere, most cutmen would panic. Stitch started getting to work quickly. He had 60 seconds to patch up a broken nose. He did everything he could, but the damage was too severe.
Stitch Duran for trying to keep my face together and stop the blood. I mean, you need those guys. You need those cutmen.
Stitch's work that night showed what elite cutmen do. But here's the controversial part. In 2015, Stitch got let go by the UFC. Why? He publicly supported fighter sponsorships during the Reebok era. The UFC didn't like that, so they, no pun intended, cut him.
And Stitch Duran needs to learn what the meaning of the word friend is. Stitch Duran and I were never friends.
The MMA community was furious. Fighters spoke out, fans protested. Stitch moved on. He went back to boxing, worked with Bellator, and continued being one of the best in the business. Swayze Valentine. If Stitch is the godfather, Swayze Valentine is the Trailblazer.
Nice scramble there.
Very nice.
Swayze is one of the few women in the cutman world, and she's proven herself time and time again at the highest level. She's been in the game for years, working with top fighters and handling some of the nastiest cuts in UFC history. What makes Swayze stand out? Her skill and her personality. She's worked with fighters like George Masvidal or Dustin Poirier and many others. And she's handled the most brutal cuts that make every man look away. Swayze's respected across the MMA community, not just because she's the only woman, but corners want her and fighters trust her. Don House. Don House is one of the most experienced cutmen in the UFC. He's been working fights for decades. Boxing, kickboxing, MMA. You name it, he's done it. What's Don known for? Consistency. He doesn't chase the spotlight. He just shows up, does his work, and keeps the fighters in the fight. He worked alongside legends like George St. Pierre or BJ Penn, and many others. And of course, also he has handled everything from small cuts to full-on emergencies. One of the things people respect about Don House is his old-school approach. He learned from the best in boxing and brought those techniques to MMA. When you see Don in the corner, you know your fighter is in good hands. No drama, no fuss, nothing. Just expert level cutman work. Big Rob. Big Rob Monroe is a giant in the cutman world, literally and figuratively. The guy is massive, but he moves with precision. He's been in corners for years, handling some of the worst damage you can imagine. What makes Big Rob respected? Well, he's like a gentle giant. When things go bad in a fight, when blood is everywhere and the clock is ticking, Big Rob doesn't panic. He just chills and works. He's also known for being a great cornerman overall, not just handling the cuts, but actually giving advice, staying in the fighter's ear, and help them calm down between rounds.
Hey, you're good.
You gotta
you're
look
good.
up, Anthony.
Look up,
You gotta look up,
okay.
man.
Fighters love working with Big Rob because he brings the calm. You're not gonna see him freaking out or be unsure. He knows exactly what to do in every situation or how to basically heal every cut.
Rob Monroe, as good a cut man as there is in the business.
And he stopped the bleeding.
Leon Tabbs. Leon Tabbs was a legend in boxing, and he brought the same expertise to MMA. Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, and in MMA, fighters like Amanda Nunes and many others. What made Leon elite? Experience. The man did this for decades. He'd seen every cut, every injury, and how they should be treated. Leon had the technique down to a science. It was all textbook perfect. Leon wasn't just a cutman. He was one of the first, and he really knew his craft. Sadly, Leon Tabbs passed away in 2018 at the age of 86. The combat sports world lost one of his greats, but his legacy lived on. The cutmen working today learned from people like Leon. The technique, the precision, the calm, and that all came from legends like him. Richie Elliot. Richie Elliot is the type of guy you've never seen before, but he has been quietly putting in work for years. He worked with multiple UFC fighters and has handled everything from small nicks to gaping cuts. What makes Richie respected? He's maybe the most skillful of them all. He knows exactly how much pressure to put, where to place the anvil, and how fast he can work without wasting any seconds. Cutmen like Richie don't get the same recognition as fighters or Mario Yamazaki, but they're still essential. They're the ones making split decisions that can save a fight, unlike Mario Yamazaki. And when things go right, nobody notices, but when things go wrong, everybody blames it on the corner. Richie built a reputation as someone you can rely on, and he seems to be always prepared. Brad Tate. And now, the man who has become the face of UFC Cutman in the modern era, Brad Cutman Tate. If you've watched UFC in the last few years, you've seen Tate. He's everywhere. The biggest fights, the biggest corners, and the worst cuts. What makes Tate special? He's a master of his craft, but he also became a personality. Fighters love him. He brings energy to the corner. And he's not just treating cuts, he's hyping fighters up, keeping them calm, and helping them. That's why you see Charles Oliveira, for example, hugging him after winning a fight. Tate's worked with some of the biggest names in the sport and handled cuts that would have ended fights not for skill. He's been in corners where fighters are pouring blood and the doctor is seconds away from stepping in. Tate always stays calm and tries to get the fighter back out there. That's what elite cutmen do. He's sharing behind the scenes content, shows his techniques, and built a following. He's made the cutman position more visible than it's ever been. Some old school guys don't really like the attention, but cutmen deserve recognition. They're part of the team, and if people want to learn about the craft, why not just show them? Love him or hate him. But Brad Tate has become one of the most famous active cutmen in the UFC, and it's just hilarious to see how much fighters actually love him. These guys don't always get the glory, they don't get the big checks, but they're in there between rounds, doing the work that can change an outcome of a fight.